These are the songs of our lives. Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Songs of Our Lives. I'm Brad Rose. I'm an artist, composer, a writer, the founder of Foxy, Digitalis, and someone who thinks about music and sound far more than is healthy. Each week, I invite on a guest to talk about the music, the songs that have meant a lot to them and left its mark. Previous guests include Dominique Madelson, Concepcion Huerta, Ruth Garbus, Shane Parrish, so many more people. This week, my old friend is on the show, and I could not be more excited. Josh Mason has been someone I've known, worked with. I mean, I feel like it's going back almost 20 years now. I could be wrong. Maybe it's not quite that long, but it's close. And, you know, Josh has just continued. He just continues to make some of my favorite, quote unquote, electronic music. It is made with electronics. It is not. I mean, it could be danceable if you tried really hard. Anything can be. His latest, Kicking a Dark Horse, which is on Grey Fade, which is such a great label. It is a book and an album, and it's just this really kind of the connection between the two. And Josh and I talk about it. And after we recorded this episode, I went back and was like listening and reading at the same time, and kind of. I'd done it separate, like I'd read the book and I'd listened to the record a bunch and all that stuff, but I hadn't, really done it at the same time. And it's just a really unique experience. The way that the book and the music fill in gaps in each other is really remarkable. It's just so well thought out. It's such a smart piece of art. That's the best way I can describe it. I don't know. It's awesome. And the edition, that book edition, is absolutely beautiful. Yeah, I highly recommend it. Anyway, so I was really excited to get Josh on the show. He was a guest on Sam and I's Rancid podcast once, and we had a blast. And I don't know. I could hang out and talk to Josh all the time. He's just a homie. So anyway, Kicking a Dark Horse is out now on Grey Fade. Highly recommend it. This episode is a lot of fun. I hope you all enjoy it. My guest today is a musician, a composer, a synthesist. I like using that one. The keeper of Timecode Beach, and the only other old surfer that I know is Josh Mason, my old friend. Welcome to the show.
Glad to be here, man. That was good. Old surfers.
Oh, hey, I pulled that out the other day. I think we talked about it, actually, and I ended up finding like the master files that I didn't think I had. I still think it holds up.
Well, that was a lot of fun, man. I really enjoyed making that. That was great.
Yeah. Well, hey, the world's burning down. Maybe we need to surf again.
Yeah,
we can talk about that.
Oh yeah.
So you got a new record on Grey Fade called "Kicking a Dark Horse." Great title, by the way.
Thank you.
There's so many things I could ask you about it, and I don't want to spend the whole time talking about this. So the first thing I just want to ask about the book. Like, okay, so it's part of their, I think I only kind of understand this. Grey Fade has their new, it's like, is it a series like Folio? It's a thing?
Yeah. I think it's so Joe at Grey Fade, I think he was really, from what I gathered, I think really his frustration came out of like, he like a lot of us are really into physical media, right? I mean, you know that more than anybody, of course. I think he just wanted to do something that still felt true to that endeavor while not just doing another CD, another tape, another LP. And so he was trying to find a way to kind of meet in the middle, get those things together. And
I think I'm curious. So like when he approached you with it, like, did the album, like the music exist already, or was it all sort of conceptualized together, like the book, the music?
Yeah, it did not exist when he approached me about it. He was, I think he'd been into what I was doing at the time, and he was just kind of like, hey, you know, if you got anything cooking, I'd love to hear it. And I had seen the other two books that he did for Ken and Taylor, and I was just blown away by that whole idea. And like myself, I also am a huge physical media person. And so the idea to jump at a chance to do something like that was super awesome. And I had wanted to write something for a really long time, but I just never really had the right platform to do it on, and do it in a way where, you know, the writing and the music were two sides of the same coin. You know, like that's a really difficult thing to do. And I knew that I wanted it to be something where, you know, the music is written in a way that where there is space, the words fill in, and vice versa. So where there's space on the page, the music conceptually fills in the blank. So it's supposed to be something that you engage with at the same time. I know for some people that's strange and they can't read while they listen to music and vice versa, but it was always designed to be one-to-one thing. Yeah.
That's cool. I'm going to have to, I mean, I've been like going through the book and listening to the record leading up to this, but I haven't been real intentional about doing them at the same time. So this makes me kind of excited to do that, because I'm curious how it'll all, I don't know, hit different, I guess. Yeah, that's really cool. Like, so how long were you working on this?
I want to say from the first word that I wrote to the last piece of music that I recorded, it was like 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit longer, something like that. While it was conceived at the same time, the writing took more time. And the music was sort of going on in my mind. Like I could hear it. I knew what I wanted it to do, but I knew that because writing is not necessarily my first, it's not the thing that I have no classical training in it or anything like that. So I knew it was going to take a little bit more effort. Even though it's experimental in nature, I still felt like I was going to have to devote some time to it. So that took a good chunk. And then the music that I was hearing the whole time came together pretty quickly once I had all the text in front of me, and I was able to kind of bounce off of it as I was rereading it and rewriting it, retooling it, things like that.
There's a lot of, I mean, there's like so many different, I guess, ideas and stuff to dig into, and this would be like a 2-hour thing. But one of the things that I really liked is this sort of distinction, like the line that's drawn between randomness and chaos. Like because I think a lot of people like use them interchangeably, and I understand how that can be, but I'm curious what what for you, what that distinction actually sounds like.
Yeah. So this was something that early on I didn't really think about at all, let alone understand the differences. And it wasn't really until I started building my own synthesizers that I really started to understand what is going on with that. Random things are truly random in that they do not repeat. There is no pattern. It's something that you can't really anticipate at all. Whereas chaotic signals, chaotic things, whether it's in sound or electrical systems or whatever else, there are patterns that emerge. So if you listen to something long enough, you will start to hear things over and over again, even if it's only on a small scale. The concept of random is actually really difficult to experience just because of the way that humans perceive sound and light and color and all kinds of things. Like we don't exist on a long enough timeline to be able to actually truly like wrap your head around that. So I think most things that people think of as random are actually chaotic because they repeat.
Yeah, that's cool. I've been having conversations with a friend in town who we're working on a collaboration, and my sort of role is to throw chaos into the whole thing. And so like thinking about and like just reading that and hearing you talk about it and stuff, that repeatability, yeah, I don't know, that makes so much sense to me. Like I don't know that I'd really thought about it this way until I read this, and I was like, oh my god, yeah, those are it's not at all the same thing.
It's really interesting once you dive into it and once you start thinking about it intentionally when you're out, like looking around at things or listening to sound, and like, especially with a lot of the music that we've been involved in over the years, I think there's a lot of sort of incidental and, you know, seemingly random things that occur in this music, but it's surprisingly recognizable, actually.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. One of the things too, so use a lot of, I guess you call them techniques, just stuff like, I think I mentioned like oscillators, like clock below their thresholds, mismatch converters. Delay lines uses percussion. That's like really one of my favorite things. I'm curious, like if there's one of those sort of techniques, especially, or like that surprised you the most, sort of in terms of what came out the other side.
Oh, well, that would certainly be, at least with this record, I would say it would certainly be clocking things either too fast or too slow. There's a lot of things that are expected to have a very steady clock. They want things to count properly. Like a lot of that system utilized like binary counters and or clock dividers, things like that. And those things worked really efficiently when they're clocked consistently.
Right.
When you start throwing irregular signals at clock dividers and binary counters, it's not smart enough to essentially read my mind or like see into the future. So it tries to count the best that it can, but it either can't do it at all or it freaks out trying to do it. So either way, I end up with something that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
And this is like either in a low frequency range or even in really high frequency ranges, like in the megahertz. You get all kinds of weird, you know, crackly aliasing and hissing sounds because you're getting signal leaking where it shouldn't be leaking from. And I tried to take all of that and harness it and use it as an instrument instead of saying like, oh, this is too noisy or this is too crackly or whatever. So I think that by and large was the most interesting part about that system. I think it's really designed to do rigid things. So when you try to do really loose things with it, it just falls apart in the best way.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things to do is like, okay, here's this instrument, you're supposed to do this with it. Or this is how it's intended to be used. Like, okay, let's not do that.
Yeah. Let's do everything but that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and that was, I avoided like the modular route for 10 plus years and then finally gave in a couple years ago. But making things do what they're supposed to do is way less interesting than seeing what you can get them to do.
Yeah. I mean, that's how like no input mixing was born and whatever else. I mean, people just got tired of like, oh, well, everybody can do that. How do I subvert this expectation?
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's a lot more we could talk about, but we got a lot of songs to talk about.
Sure.
And as I said before we started recording, not much on Lookout Records. But that's okay. I should. Oh, I think that article thing that we wrote about was it the best 7 inches? Is that what we did?
I think it was the top 10 7 inches. Yeah.
On Lookout. I think it's still out there.
Is it?
I think so, because that was on the old Isolitarium blog, and I think that still exists, even though I have no way to access it. But
I probably have that original article somewhere. I should dig that out. But
yeah, maybe I'll republish it on Foxy D someday. But if I can find it, I'm gonna link to it, because that was. I've written a lot of stuff since then, but that's like still one of the most fun things to do, because it was and I think that was like I don't know that the Rancid podcast that Sam and I did exists without that article. So
I wouldn't think so. I mean, there's definitely a line to draw between the two for sure.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm totally getting off the rails here, but bringing it back as always to start. What is the first song that you remember?
Okay, so the first song that I remember is Tricycle by Flim and the BBs. I don't know. I can't say for sure it's the first song I ever heard or anything like that, sure. But I definitely have a very vivid memory of being a little kid. That record came out in 83, I think. Mm-hmm. And my dad is still to this day, he's a huge hi-fi guy. He's a stereo guy.
That was going to be my question.
Yeah. So as people may or may not know, that record was, and still to this day is, pretty widely used as like a test album for speaker systems and whatever other gear somebody might have, because it has incredible dynamic range, and it was also, I think, one of the first jazz CDs ever to be pressed as a CD in the digital domain.
Dang.
Which was pretty interesting. But I remember being a little kid, and I remember my dad had these 2 Klipsch La Scala speakers, which when you're a little kid, those things were like monoliths. And I remember standing in front of that, and he put that record on, and it was just like being hit in the face with a baseball bat. All the downbeats just hit you right in the face. And it was just one of the loudest things that I had ever heard in my short life at the time. And it stayed with me. And it's so funny, because even now, when I'm working or when I'm listening, attentively, I still think of, when I think of dynamic range, I think of that album.
Yeah.
Like it's just burned into my mind from that experience.
Yeah, my first ever experience with it was many years ago. A friend of mine, his dad was a big audiophile, and he had got some ridiculous speakers. I didn't remember. And my friend was like, "Oh, you want to go over there and help him set it up? We'll help him set it up and hang out. We could like bring a record to play or something."
Yeah.
And we got it set up, or he had it set up. I don't think we helped. I wouldn't trust me to help do that. Jesus Christ. But that was the first thing he put on was this. Yeah. And I was just like, what? And as I learned more, it's got a pretty killer drum solo in it too, actually.
Yeah. It's a great record. I mean, I love it still.
Yeah. What is a song that either like it makes you cry or it makes you feel that kind of way?
Yeah. So for that, I chose, I'm going to butcher this. It's called the milde lomb isprad a road. It's basically Middle English for the gentle lamb spread on the cross, more or less, by Anonymous 4, which is a a cappella group from England. It's these 4 women. It's it's a 12th century polyphonic chant, essentially. And I don't know, man, like every time I hear it, it's interesting. I was telling somebody this the other day, like I sort of exist in this perpetual, like I'm almost always one song away from tears.
Yeah.
To some degree, just because of who I am and what's going on in my life, and the fact that music reminds me of so many people or places or experiences that I've lived, and they're all very much right here in front of my face all the time. And so it was hard for me to pick this, but I picked this one because it's one of those things that every time either I put it on or it comes on shuffle or anything like that, like it stops me dead in my tracks every time. I don't know what it is about the way that they sing it or the words that they're singing. It just hits that part of me that's recognizing it as a very reverential thing. I think when I was in college, I took a special topics class on a Russian painter, and a big thing that was his work was sort of grounded in, at the time, everybody in Russia was very connected to the church. And so we went on like a day trip as part of that class to a Russian Orthodox service. And it was the first time that I heard like chant. And I never heard anything like that up until that point in my life. And it just, I couldn't understand how like these people were making these sounds with their voices, because I can't sing. I've never been able to sing. It's never been my strong suit. So I've always been fascinated by the voice as an instrument. And the way these women sing this piece specifically is just incredible. There's this moment, it's like 4 minutes into the song, I think, around that time, where I don't know if it's the register that changes, or maybe they're all singing at the same time when they weren't in the beginning of the song. I'm not really sure, but something changes about 4 minutes in, and like the hairs are standing up on my arm, like thinking about it. Like,
I know what you're talking about.
It just hits you, you know?
Yeah. It's one of the, I mean, it is, I like your description of like when it comes on, like this isn't something you can just like put on in the background. At least I can't.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't like try to get super like woo woo or anything, but there is something about this music that feels like it exists outside of like this dimension or something. Like, it just feels so like otherworldly is the best word I can come up with. That it's, I don't know. It's
I think it's because it demands attention. It's not like, I think to your point, like it's not something that you would just put on and ignore. You know, it's you're very much like tuned in to what you're hearing. And if you take that, like if you can find a CD copy of that and you can listen to it on a really nice stereo by yourself, very loud. It was recorded in a 12th century church in England, and you can like hear the stone and the glass and the reverberant space, and it's transportative. It transports you to another place where you're in that mode that they were in, and so it becomes this kind of like shared listening performance thing. Yeah.
Like I have done exactly that, because I do have a CD of it, and I have listened to it very loudly, and it feels like you are there.
Yeah,
and that you are part of it, and in a way that not much else can do in that setting. So, well, on the flip side, what is the song that'll put you in a better mood?
Yeah, this was hard to think about, because I realize there's a distinction between songs that put me in a better mood, and then songs that amplify the mood that I'm already in. So I had to really think about that for a minute. And what I landed on was the Good Vibes Wabi Sabi by Yume Bitsu, which is technically 2 songs, but it's a single-sided LP. And so, like,
there's no fucking rules here. It's fine.
Yeah. And like, who's going to stop it after one song? It's just it's such a good record that, like, you just let the whole side go. So, yeah, I mean, that's one of those songs or records in this case where, no matter how I feel, it instantly puts me in a mental space that is better because it transports me to, I think, probably the first time I heard it, which is probably how a lot of these songs will go.
Sure.
You know, it's, I'll put that record on or I'll hear that record and I am instantly like chilling out on a Sunday morning. Like no matter what day it is, no matter how busy I am or not or whatever, like I'm just hanging out, lazy Sunday morning. It's bright outside. The weather is cool. The window's open, that kind of thing. Like, it just, it's a perfect mood that I love. Like it just encompasses all of that.
Yeah. There's something about it too. Like one of my notes, it's like, it's very like warming. Like it just feels very, like when I listen to it, I just feel, and it's not like what we were talking about, but I feel like I'm inside it or something. Like it just feels very comforting, I guess is maybe a better word. And it's also like one of the things I love about it too is it's, even though I've heard it a ton of times, it's like I don't really know where this song is going or what it's doing, but I'm just glad to be here.
Yeah. It sounds like you're just in the living room with 2 dudes.
Yeah.
Playing their instruments. Like it's not really about a performance. It's not really about a recording. You're just there to be there.
Yeah. And that's, there's something that feels very good about that.
Yeah. It kills me though that it's funny because I'll listen to that record and I'll instantly be in a better mood. And then when it's over, I'm super irritated because, well, A, because it's over, but 2, because none of their other records sound like that.
Right.
Like it's like this weird one-off thing that they did that doesn't really fit into their bigger picture that I was always really interested by. I never really understood why that was, but I always wish there was more that they did that sounded like that record.
Yeah, it's always been like a really good, because I feel like this happens to me all the time where somebody, and I'm not talking about just in music, but music is an easy example where it's like an artist or a band, it's like they do this thing that is unlike what they've ever done. And that's the thing that really resonates with me. And then I'm annoyed that I'm like, well, I don't really, the rest of their catalog is kind of whatever. And I mean, they've got some good stuff, don't get me wrong, but it's, and I don't know. I feel like that's the story of my life sometimes.
The flip side to that too, though, is like, then there's bands out there that they'll do this great thing and then they'll do it again and again and again. And you're like, do something else. You know, it's like, we're never happy with that, you know?
Right. And it's, and because it's never as good the second or third or fourth.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Okay. Everybody's favorite question. What is objectively the best song of all time?
So I hate this question because I'm incapable of just picking a song, just to pick a song. Like I know this is tongue in cheek, and I know, like, I understand the kind of, like, if an alien came down and I had to explain something to them, you know, how would I do that? But I was like, no, you know what? I'm going to sit here. I'm actually going to think about how do I most objectively answer this question. So I struggled with it for a really long time, many days actually. And then I started thinking about Hunter Thompson and Jefferson Airplane. There's a scene in part of the book where Dr. Gonzo's in the bathtub just ripped out of his mind on LSD, and he's playing the Jefferson Airplane tape. And he keeps telling Duke that when the song peaks, he wants him to throw the tape machine into the bathtub with him, thereby killing him, obviously. But in his mind, it's like, oh, well, it'll get me higher. And I started thinking about that, and it hit me that the song that you are willing to pull the cord on is probably the greatest song in the world.
Yeah.
Now that the problem is that's still subjective. So I thought about it even more, and I did some research, and it turns out that by and large, in Western culture specifically, by and large, the most requested song at the end of a life during palliative care or like hospice or whatever is "My Way" by Frank Sinatra. Which I kind of hate and also kind of love, because it's not a good song to me. I don't really like it. And I like the idea of choosing a song for this list that I don't actually like.
I love it.
But I tried to be objective as possible. But I also kind of like this idea of like, you know, all these people are getting to the end of their lives and then basically picking a song that essentially is saying like, fuck you, you know, like I'm out of here, you know. And again, you could still say like, okay, well, that's still subjective to some degree, because now you're talking about like there's cultures that have never heard Frank Sinatra, so that doesn't really right. But I'm still pretty convinced that even in other cultures, there is an equivalent. Right, there's this My Way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know what those are, but this is the best and most objective answer that I could give.
I can't add anything to that. That is like, I love it. I absolutely love it. And now I want to hear the version of this song from other parts of the world so bad.
Yeah, like whatever it is, like whether it's like you know, a piece of traditional music, or I just think like if you consider the fact that dying and death is the one thing that we all have in common.
Right.
How much higher up the ladder can you go with this? You know, like it's one unifying thing that we're all willing to agree on. And if that many people are picking this piece of music, whatever this is across cultures, then it's got to be the best.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Okay, what's the song you used to love, but you've heard it recently, or if you think about it now, not so much? Doesn't do it for you.
That would be, I think that was Venetian Snares and Daniel Lanois, the Mag 11, I think it was. Mm-hmm. I just picked that one, but it really could have been any song on that album. I think at the time when I heard it, I think it was because it was so jarring. Right. You know, hearing the delayed, you know, slide guitar stuff with all the
Venetian Snares beats.
Yeah. It's like, I like both of those things discreetly. And I thought when you put them together, I was just like, this is mental. Like who thought this was a good idea? Yeah. But I was really intrigued by it. But now it's, I thought about this a lot over the last couple of days, and I went back to listen to it. And I just kept having this sensation that I had like two YouTube or two Bandcamp browser windows open at the same time, like playing different albums.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, oh, that's why this doesn't sound good, because it doesn't feel like neither one of those things is complement, or it's not that it doesn't complement it, but it doesn't bolster the other one. You know what I mean? Like it just feels like two things sitting on top of each other. Yep.
There seems like there's this disconnect between the two things, and it's too bad, because it's like I'm very curious about what that combination could sound like.
Yeah,
and maybe it just doesn't work. I don't know, but I had a very similar experience with this when it came out. I was like, oh yeah, and I hadn't thought about it in years, and I put it on, and I was like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, arguably, I think there's probably a lot that the listening populace is missing just because we weren't flies on the wall whenever
Right.
they decided to put that together, and maybe they just did it because they could, and that's all that it
Right.
was. Which I also had admiration for,
Absolutely.
but yeah, it just doesn't work for me now.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, what's the song that most people, some group of people, I don't know who they are, people hate it. You don't care. You love it anyway.
That would be Battle Stations by Winger. When I was a kid, I could close my eyes and I can see myself doing this. I was at swimming lessons, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I was waiting for my turn in the lap pool. And all summer, I would listen to the Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey soundtrack on cassette on my Sony, that yellow, mustard yellow, like sport Walkman. It was waterproof. Yeah. And I would be waiting to swim and I'd be listening to this tape. And I just love that movie so much. It's one of my favorite movies. And that song, I mean, I wore out that part of the cassette because I just rewound and listened to that one song over and over and over and over. It was just so catchy and so it played during the scene when Bill and Ted are building the good robots to like fight evil robots and the alien station and all that stuff. Like it was just so ridiculous and it just always made me think of that. And but the reason why I think of it as being, I don't know how many people actually like Winger. I just remember also watching Beavis and Butthead, and they always ripped on that kid that wore the Winger shirt. So I just assumed as a young person that nobody liked Winger. So I wasn't allowed to say like, oh, I like that song from the soundtrack or whatever.
Man, yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm just looking at who's on that soundtrack. It's like, I remember that soundtrack. Slaughter.
Yeah.
Steve Primus.
Yeah.
Man.
It was a ridiculous soundtrack for a ridiculous movie. I mean, and that song, that Winger song is like it's not a great song. Like it's super like machismo, like
I know. It's kind of gross.
Very sexist. It's not a good song. But I think just because of the the memory that it conjures of watching that movie for the first time, and and it was like dark and weird compared to the first one, and just
well, if it's not Battle Stations, what's the most romantic song?
Okay, so that one was a tie that I couldn't really figure out, and this is where we get into the Lookout stuff.
Okay,
so I'm going to go with my gut on that one, which was Ray of Sunshine by Go Sailor. I very easily could have picked I Just Want to Do It With You by Mr. T Experience.
That's a great one too. The sentiment of I Just Want to Do It With You is like, because it sounds like it can be, it could be crass, but it's also very sweet.
Yes. Yeah. So I think either one of those songs, like, for a couple of reasons, but I'll go with Go Sailors first. Like, I think what it during the time of my life that I was first hearing that, it was something that first of all, it reminds me now as an older listener, it reminds me a lot of the pop and R&B stuff that my mom would listen to. Like and like Motown and stuff like that. It has that same kind of repetitive, very sweet, kind of that tender the Ronettes or like the Supremes or something like that, where it's not really a very complicated song, but it's sung by the right person in the right way, and it has that kind of really sweet sensibility to it. So I've always really liked it for that reason. But the lookout pop punk, folk punk thing, it always kind of smacked of like Slacker love.
Mm-hmm.
Like the we live in a small town. I'm wasting my life. You're wasting your life. We might as well waste our lives together.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And as somebody who grew up in a small town like that, I saw that everywhere, and that made a lot of sense to me. And so it became, I think, kind of synonymous with how I felt about relationships at the time. And I also remember really struggling to put that Go Sailor song on mixtapes for people, especially like a girl that I would like. I mean, I was younger, right? But at the time, I was thinking like, because you make a mixtape for somebody, and the whole point is to take somebody else's art form and use it as a way to like tell somebody how you feel about them, right?
Right.
And so I remember thinking like, what does it say about me that I want to make this mixtape for this girl with a song sung by another girl about another girl? Like, what is
right?
How is that going to be perceived from this person who doesn't know any of this?
Right.
So that was a tricky spot I remember being in, but
yeah. No, this. I mean, both of they just take me back to being like 15. And, and Rose Melberg forever.
Yes, absolutely.
Man.
Oh my gosh, she's the best.
Yeah, God, the best. Okay, what's a song that changed your perspective on an artist, either for better or for worse?
That would have been the theme from Dead Man by Neil Young. So when I was growing up, I'd heard a lot of Neil Young. My parents listened to Neil Young, but what I remember hearing, except for like, Keep on Rocking in the Free World, I remember hearing the acoustic stuff, or like Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young records. And so, I just sort of accepted that was what Neil Young did best. And it wasn't until I was a little bit older in high school and I saw Dead Man, and I was like, I don't know what this is, but because this was like before the internet was really a big thing, and I didn't know what I was hearing. And when I found out that it was Neil Young more or less improvising that whole soundtrack while he was watching the movie for the first time, it dawned on me that there's more to him than I realized. And there's this mix of the acoustic aspect of his music, but he's also got this thing that I love. I mean, his guitar tone with that Fender Deluxe, it just sounds like it's imploding, and the Echo Plex,
so much.
It's so good. It's so thick and
it's like tactile. Like you could physically touch the sound.
Yeah, that just changed everything for me. And not only sonically, but I also realized with Neil Young, like you don't really know what you're going to get from record to record since he started making music. I mean, he'll do an acoustic record, and then he'll do a loud record, and then he'll do a terrible synthesizer album, and he'll do an even louder album. And then there like that what was it called, Arc, the companion album from Weld. It's just like feedback and stuff. It's like I just realized like he just does whatever he wants, and in a lot of ways I think that gave me agency when I was thinking about my own music, of like, I can do anything. Like there's no rules to this. I can just, who cares what people think about it? He doesn't care. So why should I care? Um,
Yeah,
and you
no.
know, not
Yeah.
only that, like the guitar parts from that soundtrack are killer. I mean,
Mm-hmm. So
I love
good. Yeah, no, yeah, then you realize that who cares, and then you realize nobody cares.
it.
So
Yeah,
really,
yeah, yeah.
it really doesn't matter.
Might as well do whatever.
Yeah. What about lyrics? All right, so obviously you make instrumental music, but are lyrics a thing you care about?
So yeah, that's really interesting that you asked that because I this is something that I struggle with a lot in my music making, and that is intentionality.
Mm-hmm.
My music has always had a story. It's always had main characters. It's always had, I've always had something to say.
Mm-hmm.
And for the most part, I've always been sort of relegated to like song titles or album names or
Right.
imagery or whatever. And this was a big reason why I wanted to do Kicking a Dark Horse, because I for the first time had the opportunity to essentially do what was my version of lyrics and liner notes, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and and the song that I picked for that was Transfer Zounds by Reversal of Man.
Mm.
Um, which are, home state heroes for me. I mean, Reversal Man was by far, I mean, this whole list could have been 14 or 15 Reversal Man songs easily. Those guys and Matt, the vocalist, I mean, they fundamentally changed how I thought about almost everything in my life. And he Matt specifically was a very big inspiration for me writing this book and writing the things that I have written, the way I wrote them, then the permission to do so, or giving myself permission to do so.
Yeah.
His lyrics have always been important to me, and that song in particular, it's only like a 30-second song, but the last line of the song is, my wristwatch is broken, but my life is repaired. And that's become kind of a mantra of mine, so to speak, over the years. And the song's more or less about touring. It's about sort of being able to be kind of outside of time with other people, to be in a place that gives you an opportunity to express yourself and to be accepted by a group of people. And doesn't matter where you're doing it, how long you do it for, but the impact is there nonetheless. And how just important the medium of music and travel and connection has been. And if I wasn't so terrified of getting tattoos, I would have that tattooed all over me.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I love I love a song that does what it needs to do in 30 seconds.
Yeah. I mean, they were great at that. I mean, there's a lot of like hardcore and grind bands and stuff that do stuff like that. But yeah. I mean, they just, that was one of those things where those of us who in Florida were playing in punk bands and hardcore bands, like they were the tablets for us, like that's who we looked up to, and their music and the way they acted, the way that they talked to you and treated you and like explain songs and explain what they were doing and what they were about. Like, I just, it totally altered how I saw the role of music, whether it was throwing guitars against a wall or like making tape loops or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was always about connection. And that's what my music was always about, like even with the Timecode tape, like, yeah, it's cool that I did that and that people liked it, but you and I know each other because we did that, and all the other things we got to do because of that. And I'm sitting here probably because of that, so I'm eternally indebted to those guys for writing that music because it changed my life for sure.
I have those songs and those bands. Yeah. Like, and I'm at that point in my life. Like, I don't know what else to do.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It's
all there is left, really. I mean,
yeah. Okay. What cover is better than the original?
Oh, okay. So this depends on how pedantic you want to be about this.
You sent me. I'm gonna step in here because you sent me this in a random order. So like I didn't know what went with what. This one I kind of figured out. And I'm just gonna say like your answer for this, like, well, the main answer for this, your first answer for this, is the greatest answer for this. Like,
okay.
When I came up with this question, like, one of the songs that was in my head was All Along the Watchtower, right? Like Hendrix, that's his song now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, anyway, I'll let you get your pick because this is even better.
Yeah. So my gut pick here is Star Spangled Banner by Hendrix.
Yeah.
Technically, it is not a cover. My wife pointed this out to me and I was very distraught because I should have known this, but it is technically an arrangement, which is different than a cover.
It's my podcast. I'm going to say what.
I'm going to ignore the shit out of that and just say the answer is Jimi Hendrix, Star Spangled Banner. I mean, look, for one, I think just sonically, it's just more interesting to me, given my my interest in loud guitar-based music. I mean, that's just what I grew up with. But I do think there's a cultural thing there that's really interesting too, when you think about what was going on when the Star Spangled Banner was written, especially in our country, and like who it was written by, who it was written for, and how it's been perceived in this country, like as we grew up in school systems and churches and events and whatever else you might be exposed to. And then also what was going on in our country when Hendrix played that at Woodstock. And I just think it's a real, like, how more like on point can you possibly be,
Absolutely.
And I think it's interesting that a lot of people who heard that broadcast were like, this is heretical. Like, you can't do that. Because I think that they thought it was, kind of him giving the middle finger to, the United States during a time of war. And I don't really think that's true. I think, especially given that he was a ex-military personnel himself, like, I think that it was out of love. I think it was out of, a sense of like, I don't know if it's pride necessarily, but I think that he understood the importance of unifying people. I think that he was really smart to have pulled that out of the hat at that moment for those people who were there, who were experiencing what they were experiencing, both at Woodstock and in the culture and in the politics of the time. I thought like that was a genius move on his part. And it was just executed perfectly. I mean, you listen to that recording and it's just like, you feel it in your bones.
Whether it's technically a cover or not, it's my favorite answer for this question. I saw that and I was just like, holy shit. Yep. That's the
one. Good.
All right. What's the best hype song?
The best hype song for me is Hot Water Music, Southeast First. I picked it for a couple of reasons. One, because, I mean, it quite literally has cheerleaders in the beginning. Right. So you can't really hype any further. Except they do. Right. But yeah, the radical cheerleading thing, I just thought, like, I remember the first time I heard that, especially as a Floridian who was into punk and hardcore at the time. It was, I remember going to shows and seeing the radical cheerleaders. You know, you smelled them before you saw them, actually. Like, I don't know how familiar you or the listening audience might be with radical cheerleaders, but essentially they were sort of like a protest group made up of some of the smelliest punk kids you ever encountered. And before shows, they would put on these their league cheers that were, you know, somehow tied to some political activism. But I also picked it because, you know, hot water music to me is just like in the blood in terms of Florida. And the fact that song sings, they sing specifically about, you know, they sing about shows at a venue called the Hardback, which is in Gainesville, or was in Gainesville. I don't know if it's still open. It might not still be there, but I spent a lot of my youth in Gainesville going to shows, and I mean, I again, it was formative for me. So just listening to that stuff, it just gets me excited about, you know, the kind of pre-show jitters, or, you know, getting to run into your friends again, or like, oh, your friend's band who's on tour, they're coming to play the show and you're going to get to see people you haven't seen in a while, that kind of thing. I just, yeah, I mean, there's nothing gets me hyped up more than a bunch of neckbeards in the swamp of Florida getting hit in the face with a microphone.
Man, yeah. And this song just rips.
Yeah. I mean, that record. I remember a bunch of us in my group growing up, like group of friends, like we were waiting for a new hot water record for a long time. And when that record came out, I mean, it was all any of us were listening to for years after that. I mean, it's just such a great record. And then I feel like after that, it started to kind of teeter off a little bit. I wasn't as excited about the newer stuff they've done, but that record still really holds up for me.
Yeah. All right. Well, what is the song that means the most to you? Not necessarily because of the song itself, but because you associate it with something or someone, etc., etc.
So that would be a song called Woodchopper's Ball by Woody Herman, who was it was a big band foxtrot piece. When I was in middle school, I was at a public event. I don't remember what it was, some fair or something like that. And the local school, the middle school, had a jazz band program. So in addition to band and orchestra, there was a jazz band class that you could take, which I always thought was super rad. Because in my mind at the time, that age, I thought jazz just meant you just made shit up. And like, how do you fail that class? So I really wanted to be in jazz band after seeing that. And it was a big ordeal. I had to also sign up for orchestra because you had to be in another music program. But anyway, I was really stoked about that. And Woodchopper's Ball was one of the first pieces of sheet music that I ever learned to play.
Wow.
And it was interesting because, you know, that song is not particularly jazzy. I mean, a foxtrot is not necessarily like exciting in the sense of like something on Bitch's Brew might be exciting. But nevertheless, like, it was a good foundational piece of music that the way that my teacher framed it, he was like, you know, you kind of have to learn the rules before you break them. So I need you to play these notes in this key for this section. And then however you get from this note to this other note, you can do that however you want. So it was a really important piece of music for me, because it was the first thing that I learned to sight read and to understand the clef that I was in. But it also taught me, it was also some of my very first improvisation. And nice. I got to do those at the same time, which is very, I think, rare for most people. They either learn how to play academically and then they struggle with improvisation. And I've played with a lot of people like that over the years, or the other way around. They never learned how to play their instrument and they can't be bothered to do it now because who cares? What's the point?
Right.
So I developed that muscle really early on of being able to kind of bridge the gap between those two things. And I think that song specifically, which I can still play to this day, which is
that's awesome.
That was the beginning of my balance between the kind of left field weirdness that we're accustomed to, but also the kind of melodic counterpoint to that, where it's not just blasting noise at you for, the whole side of a tape.
Right.
So yeah, that song's really important to me for that reason. And I was pretty proud of that. I remember walking away
really
thinking
cool,
like, oh, I can do this. Like, this is like, reading music's not like black magic or, rocket science or anything like that. Like, it is possible. So yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, last question. What is, at least in this moment in time, or maybe it's always this answer, I don't know, but what is your favorite song?
I mean, this is always impossible, right?
Right.
But if I had to pick right now, it would be Protest Song by Aloha.
Yeah.
There's something about that band that I've just always found fascinating. I think, sort of coming off the jazz question, you probably experienced this a lot too. Like, in indie rock around the 90s and early 2000s became at some point very formulaic. Like, a lot of these bands kind of started to sound the same, and everybody had guitars and bass and drums and a singer, and it was very, compartmentalized in that way. And I liked Aloha a lot because they had a vibraphonist, and I thought that was such a bizarre thing to include in something that was destined to be a polyvinyl band. You know what I mean? Like, it just seemed really strange, and they had a lot of improvisational aspects to their music. Like, they would play shows and they would basically improv into a song. Like, they didn't have a set list. They just kind of found their way into it until it started to sound like one of their songs, and then they'd start playing that song. Anyway, I think Protest Song and that album that it's from specifically, like, it was one of those at the right place at the right time. The vibraphone and like the sort of phasery effects and this kind of the way that the drums are recorded, it's like one of my absolute favorite drum sounds in the world. That kind of slightly blown out, cassette preamp style distortion. I just love it. And when that record came out, I was living in my friend's hallway for a while. He had this like shotgun house that had a hallway that went to the back of the house and just terminated in the door to the backyard. So they locked the door, and a twin bed fit exactly at the end of the hallway. And I lived there for a while, and I was home from school for a time, and I had originally gone to school to be a painter. And so I had set up, it was summer, it was like July or something, and I'd set up a painting studio in their garage that they weren't using. And so I spent days, weeks just ripped out of my mind on paint solvents and listening to that Aloha record in 90-degree heat in the garage. And when I hear that song specifically, it has that kind of, especially if you listen to it on headphones, it has that kind of, like when it's too hot outside, you can't hear, like there's just so much blood in your head. Mm-hmm. That everything's muffled and it just feels like thick around your head. Mm-hmm. It has that sense to it. And I just love that sound and what it reminds me of, what it makes me think of. And I think that was their last album of the vibraphonist too, which always bummed me out because I thought that was kind of what made that sound. And then they got rid of that part of it and it just never really sounded the same after that. So yeah. That would be my favorite song, protest song.
Well, perfect place to end it. Kicking a Dark Horse is out now. Anything else you want to plug while you're here?
No, man, I'm just glad to be here. Glad to chat about music and, keeps me from throwing myself out a window.
Once again, thank you to my fellow old surfer, Josh Mason. Please check out his picks at the link in the show notes. Go buy Kicking a Dark Horse. I highly recommend picking up the physical edition. It is a little spendy, but it's well worth it. I mean, having held the book in my hand, the quality of it is, in some ways, it feels underpriced. Not to mention how good the music is. Go pick that up and, all the stuff. Thanks for listening. Like the thing, subscribe, leave a review, all that junk that helps with the algorithm. Thanks. I don't know. Patreon.com/Foxy Digitalis. Ongoing support really helps. Or pick up some on the Jewel Garden. Everything on there is pay what you can. And every buck helps. Everything helps. And if you don't have anything and you just need some new tunes, I hope it helps you. So until next time, keep on listening to whatever the hell you want.